With the WINN FM News, I am Kevin Brown. Our top stories. SEDIMA Executive Director emphasizes individual and government partnership in hurricane preparedness. Desalination plant bolster St. Kitts and Nevis water resilience. ECCB Monetary Council Chairmanship handover highlights central bank's strength and future plans. St. Lucia takes steps to draft first national migration policy. Trinidad and Tobago Attorney General says a state of emergency dramatic but necessary. Violent attacks were planned. Internationally, Trump sues Wall Street Journal over Epstein report. Now, the details. At the 49th CARICOM Heads of Government meeting in Montego Bay, the Executive Director of the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, SEDIMA, Elizabeth Riley, reiterated the vital importance of hurricane preparedness for the region, particularly as the 2025 Atlantic hurricane season approaches its peak. Answering a question about current preparedness advice in early July, Riley highlighted the dual responsibility shared between governments and individuals. She emphasized that resilience starts with personal decision-making and extends to family planning and practical preparation to withstand the disruptive effects of hurricanes.
First of all, I think the key message is that preparedness for hazards, including for hurricanes, is about a partnership between the people and the government.
Got you.
There is an important role for individuals to play, and it can relate to big things such as decisions on where you site your house, where you buy land to build your house, how you go about the construction of your home, the kinds of questions you're asking your contractor to make sure that it's resilient to hurricane winds.
She said that choices regarding home location and construction standards are crucial to enhancing resilience to hurricane impacts. Riley also addressed smaller scale yet critical actions that families should undertake.
And it can also include other things, critical personal things like family planning. How do you make an arrangement so that if as a family you get separated, where do we meet? How do we come back together?
Such preparation ensures that families can remain connected and safe even amidst the chaos of storm events. The practical side of preparedness also involves stocking essential supplies, a point Riley underscored by elaborating on the importance of being ready for utility disruptions.
And it also includes basic things like supplies, because we know one of the powers of hurricanes is that it's very disruptive. It tends to disrupt normal things like your utilities, like your electricity, your water. So it's very important to have your personal stores available. And this includes food stuff. And you know, the canned stuff is safer because if you have your refrigerator is very full of foods during hurricane season,
lots of wastage,
and you lose power, it's a possibility you may lose some of those items in your fridge.
Recognizing that the aftermath of hurricanes can bring additional challenges, Riley advised individuals who depend on medications to ensure they have adequate supplies well in advance.
For persons who are on medication, it is absolutely critical to have stocks of your medication, because in the aftermath of events, you don't know whether you're going to be able to easily access those.
Furthermore, she recommended keeping a supply of personal cash due to potential disruptions in banking services.
And we also advise persons to keep personal cash. In many instances, banking systems are disrupted for some time after events. So
Riley reminded citizens that while governments will do their utmost to provide support, community and individual preparedness must be the foundation to complement those efforts.
All of these are things that the individual can do. And remember, the government is always going to do its part, but the government must always be complementing the efforts by individuals.
As the Caribbean braces for another active hurricane season, with forecasts predicting between 13 to 19 named storms and 6 to 10 hurricanes, Riley's message reinforces the crucial need for comprehensive readiness on all fronts, ensuring that both governments and residents work hand in hand to minimize storm impacts and protect lives and property across the region. Complementing the island's groundwater development, desalination technology is playing an increasingly vital role in meeting the water needs of St. Kitts and Nevis. During the July 16, 2025 In Focus episode, water engineer Cromwell Williams and assistant water engineer Landrith Isaac emphasized the importance of this modern advancement in their nation's water infrastructure. Williams highlighted the significance of new desalination plants as a solution to the existing water shortfall.
Government must first spend its money on finding new sources, additional sources, and hence that is desalination, that is constructing desalination plants.
The country already benefits from smaller scale private sector desalination plants with facilities at the Marriott Resort and Park Hyatt operated by Royal Utilities.
Royal Utilities, they operate a desalination plant at the Marriott, and they're also under agreement to provide some water to our grid that assists some areas in Frigate Bay. They've been reliable for the most part, and so this frees up our resources that we could reallocate elsewhere as well. And so it's an excellent example of private sector contributing to our national resilience.
One of the newest additions is a solar-powered desalination plant located near Canada Estate, which was funded by the United Arab Emirates and commissioned just a few months ago. Williams detailed the plant's contributions.
It provides just over 30 gallons per minute, which is like one of our smaller wells. So, it's a worthwhile contribution. One of the significance of this desal plant, though, apart from the fact that we are converting seawater into fresh potable water, is the fact that this plant is solar powered.
Officials are also nearing completion of a much larger 2 million gallon per day desalination plant at Bird Rock, a government-funded initiative with support from the Republic of China, Taiwan.
Construction started late last year, maybe September, October, December, and we are actually near completion. We're looking at another month or two before commissioning. The contractor Royal Utilities have been hitting all the milestones, and they've been very professional and very on time with regards to all their targets.
The plant is connected directly to a nearly 2 million gallon storage tank, thereby expanding the island's capacity to meet demand.
That plant alone is almost a 40% increase in our overall production. So we anticipate that immediately Bastia will be returned to 24/7 water supply.
While this plant will be powered by the Skelec grid rather than solar panels, ongoing efforts by Skelec to diversify with green energy sources, including solar, may indirectly benefit the facility.
There is plans afoot by Skelec to have a solar plant constructed in the same Bastia Valley aquifer wellfield area. And so, there's that synergy between energy, solar, green energy, and water production.
Addressing environmental concerns associated with desalination, Williams explained the management of brine.
If we're producing 2 million gallons per day of potable water from seawater, we have to pulling in from the sea twice that amount, because roughly half goes to fresh water and the other half goes back out into the sea via pipeline as a concentrated seawater or brine, which is, let's say, roughly twice as concentrated. So that is diffused. It is first, the pipeline goes offshore. The distance, I can't quite recall, but it's probably about almost a kilometer. It's diffused, so it's not just dumped at one point. It is diffused over a length of the pipeline. So that diffusion automatically results in mixing and quick dilution back into the sea. And so we have done the necessary environmental impact studies. We have done the necessary simulations, and we are confident that the impact in that area will be minimal.
The environmental impact assessment is publicly available for review, and ongoing monitoring ensures compliance with pH, salinity, and temperature levels to protect marine ecosystems. For skeptics questioning the quality or safety of desalinated water, Williams assured people of the time-tested technology.
Desalination has been around for a very long time, decades and decades. And it has been improving significantly, just like most technologies, just like our television. Once ago, we had a big box. Now we have a flat screen.
We even have curved screens now.
Technology improved, and desalination is no different. The technology has improved. Back a couple decades ago, a couple years ago even, The taste, I think, was a consideration. But then I think some of the plants in the region would have been using what was called like a flash distillation, meaning that they were basically heating the water, and you would condense the evaporate, which is steam, and you would get the thing. But sometimes there was taste issues. However, with the introduction of reverse osmosis, which is a totally different method, that method has transformed the product that you get at the end of the day. And so go down to the Marriott, and they have had their reverse osmosis plant for over 20 years, or just about 20 years. When you drink water from there, you can't tell the difference. Matter of fact, as Mr. Isaac mentioned, just over a year ago, we started taking water from that plant to augment our supply in the Frigate Bay area. We've never had customers that says, I can tell when you switch, because very often we switch from our supply to the desal supply from Marriott. And persons cannot tell when we switch, because when sometimes Marriott plant is down, and they would say, look, we're down, we can't give you any water right now, we have to go and open back so that water flows from our system to those customers. So really, there's really little or no difference in the desal water today.
He confirmed that chlorine and other quality tests remain part of the treatment protocol to guarantee safety. As St. Kitts and Nevis moves forward with expanding its water infrastructure, these desalination initiatives represent a major step in ensuring water security and resilience for its communities and increasing demand and climate challenges. The continued incorporation of advanced technology underscores the nation's proactive approach to meeting the needs of its citizens sustainably. On Thursday, July 17, 2025, a significant ceremony marked the change of chairmanship of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank's Monetary Council, held at the Conference Center of the American University of Antigua in Antigua and Barbuda. The event gathered high-profile officials, including the outgoing chair, the Honorable Cora Richardson Hodge, Premier of Anguilla, and the incoming chair, the Honorable Gaston Brown, Prime Minister and Minister of Finance for Antigua and Barbuda. ECCB Governor Timothy N.J. Antoine delivered comprehensive remarks outlining both the bank's recent achievements and the challenges faced amidst a complex global economic environment. Governor Antoine emphasized the critical need for regional self-reliance in light of these geopolitical and economic realities. He called for relentless collective action at home and relentless advocacy and partnerships abroad, centered on the Big Push, an ambitious initiative to double the ECCU's economy within the next decade. The governor outlined the key pillars of this drive: food and nutrition security, energy security, digital transformation, human capital development, financial wealth creation, and trade logistics and shipping. He was quick to clarify that while tourism remains the lead economic driver, these pillars all underpin and diversify around it. On the education and digital front, the ECCB's commitment to youth development was underscored by a STEM camp initiative.
Starting last year, the ECCB has committed to train 500 students between the ages of 13 and 18 in generative AI and Python each summer for the next 5 years. This year, our summer camp started on July 14 and will run for 1 month. And by the way, in Antigua and Barbuda, so far I'm told 124 students have signed up for this program. The highest number in the currency union. 80 of them are new, as in this is their first year in the camp. 84 of them actually. 24 of them have returned. Actually, that's 40 of them have returned from last year. Our students will move beyond simply using generative AI to becoming creators, innovators, and problem solvers, ready to lead the digital future of the Eastern Caribbean. This is yet another demonstration of our central bank's commitment to support our youth and digital transformation. I wish to applaud the UWI 5 Islands campus on its highly successful second annual International AI Research Conference held on June 23rd and 24th of this year, and commend Prime Minister Brown and the government of Antigua and Barbuda for the vision for the campus and for digital transformation.
Closing his remarks, Governor Antoine issued an urgent call to deepen collective solidarity and accelerate coordinated action in the face of global fractures and looming threats such as the climate crisis.
The words of Bob Marley in his song Buffalo Soldier resonate deeply with me. Stolen from Africa, brought to America, fighting on arrival, fighting for survival. Ladies and gentlemen, almost 200 years after the official abolition of slavery, and almost 50 years since our political independence, we continue to fight for our survival. And our fight for survival from slavery and colonialism continues. Moreover, the climate crisis poses a clear and present danger, an existential threat to our region and our people. And I conclude with my off remark, a mantra of some kind. As a region, we cannot change our history, and we cannot change our geography, but we can elevate our development trajectory through innovation and collective action.
The event served as a timely reaffirmation of ECCB's steadfast role in nurturing financial stability, promoting inclusive growth, and guiding the currency union towards a prosperous and resilient future. In regional news, St. Lucia takes steps to draft first national migration policy, DBS St. Lucia reports.
The Building Capacity on Migration Data and Statistics for Government Officials workshop is an Essentials of Migration Data training program organized by the International Organization for Migration, IOM. It aims to equip government officials with the knowledge and skills needed to improve the production and dissemination of migration data and statistics. Additionally, it addresses challenges such as scattered and non-comparable data. Participants also developed a plan for co-producing key migration data indicators relevant to St. Lucia's needs. Vinley's Daly, a project coordinator with IOM, says that this workshop forms part of a wider project to develop a national migration policy.
In the end, we hope that data management is taken more seriously and that every individual who participated in the training feels empowered to use what they've learned in their day-to-day operation to ensure that data management in St. Lucia is more comprehensive, more efficient, more effective, and can be used for policy and decision-making purposes.
The training, delivered over 2 days at the Ministry of External Affairs, covers 6 core topics, including the relevance of migration data, key concepts and measurements, data sources, subtypes of migration, data management and sharing, and data analysis and dissemination. Julian Dubois stressed the importance of all agencies being on board in the creation of the policy.
The intention is to have a further training activity to deal with migration governance. We again are going to reach out to you to assist us and participate with us. We hear of the issues of migration around the world right now. We hear of what's happening with the new administration in the US. We hear of what's happening in the Middle East. We do not have to allow things to escalate to that extent within our region before we put the plans in place and make the necessary preparations to deal with the issues of migration.
Participants from the various agencies shared their takeaways and experiences from the workshop.
In law enforcement, we look at information that we process and then turn it to evidence. But in this training, we learned that you use data to now form information, which is something that I had not realized until my participation in this training.
At TSO, we need migration data when we have to produce estimates and projections, and it is one thing that we do not have. So I am very, very happy that this entire process is happening.
And one of the most important things that this training has taught me is that all the agencies, we have to learn to come together and share our data so we can make a proper migration policy.
Interns from the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College were also invited to attend the workshop. The first draft of the National Migration Policy is expected to be completed by year end. For the DBS News World, Miriam Montoot reporting.
Trinidad and Tobago Attorney General says a state of emergency dramatic but necessary. Violent attacks were planned. Triple T Live Online has that story.
Government fully supports the Commissioner of Police, Alistair Guevaro's call for a state of emergency in Trinidad and Tobago. Attorney General John Jeremy made the government's position clear as he addressed a media briefing on Friday. Here's Terry Ann Brown-Campbell with the details.
Attorney General John Jeremy noted an increase in serious crimes and gang activity across the nation as he outlined government's reasoning for endorsing Commissioner of Police Alistair Guevaro's request for a state of emergency.
We are conscious that there have been 213 homicides so far for the year, and that just this last week we have had some truly horrific crimes that have taken place. It is our understanding that there is now a resurgence in kidnappings and extortion and abductions for ransom.
The Attorney General said serious threats were made against state facilities along with the very rule of law.
Yesterday afternoon, the government learned that a plot was in the advanced stages of execution from within Trinidad and Tobago's correctional facilities. The object of the plot was clear. It was directed towards violent attacks targeting citizens, persons involved in the justice system at all levels, and others involved in serving this country in the protective services.
He added that government has a duty to all of the people of Trinidad and Tobago.
We were left with no choice, faced with information, credible information, that persons involved in the administration of justice and others were to be assassinated, given certain contingencies. We were left with no choice but to take the most dramatic action that is possible under the Constitution.
The AG said the state of emergency will continue as long as the security forces see it necessary. Terry Ann Brown Campbell, TTT News.
The Attorney General described a dire situation of what could possibly have been the outcome had the government not agreed to call the state of emergency.
Speaking to you this morning, and that half of the building has not been destroyed by a rocket launcher, should tell you that we have succeeded in disrupting a plan. We stand before you as representatives of people. We are being as open as is possible, given the fact that a lot of this is embargoed from release by, you protect individuals, human intelligence.
The state of emergency remains in force for an initial period of 15 days. It must be extended by a simple majority of the House of Representatives for periods of 3 months, but cannot exceed 6 months. There is no curfew under this state of emergency.
All of the people of Trinidad and Tobago, whether they voted for us or not, to keep them safe and to protect against precisely that which took place in 1990. It will not happen on our watch.
We now bring you these international reports.
Donald Trump sued the Wall Street Journal and its owners, including Rupert Murdoch, for at least $10 billion on Friday. It's over the newspaper's report that his name was on a 2003 birthday greeting for Jeffrey Epstein and included a sexually suggestive drawing and a reference to secrets they shared. The US president has vehemently denied the Journal report, which Reuters has not verified. The lawsuit filed in Miami names Murdoch, Dow Jones, News Corp and its chief executive Robert Thompson, as well as 2 Wall Street Journal reporters as defendants. It says they defamed Trump and caused him to suffer overwhelming financial and reputational harm. Epstein, the disgraced financier and sex offender, died by suicide in a New York jail in 2019. His case has generated conspiracy theories that became popular among Trump's base of supporters. They believed the government was covering up Epstein's ties to the rich and powerful. Trump has said he parted ways with Epstein before the financier's legal troubles became public in 2006. The newspaper's parent, Dow Jones, said in a statement, quote, "We have full confidence in the rigour and accuracy of our reporting and will vigorously defend against any lawsuit. The lawsuit called Trump's alleged birthday greeting fake. A $10 billion award would far exceed the largest defamation judgments and settlements in recent history.
Early reports of a vehicle that was driven into a crowd on Santa Monica Boulevard in the East Hollywood area of Los Angeles during the early hours of morning at around 2 a.m. local time. The LA Fire Department has said that more than 20 people have been injured. Santa Monica Boulevard is a very popular area, very busy area. Now, we understand that of the 20, at least 4 to 5 have been described as being in a critical condition, 8 to 10 serious, and 10 to 15 in a fair condition. A fire department official was speaking to local press and said some of those injured were speaking. They had been transferred to local hospitals. The area itself does have access to a number of hospitals. We also understand that the car is a small grey car that mounted the pavement, or what's known as the sidewalk, and then collided with people that had been queuing to enter a musical venue on the sidewalk. Santa Monica Boulevard in East Hollywood in Los Angeles, it's vibrant. It's very popular with young people. It's a mixture of residential and commercial spaces. And East Hollywood is a densely populated area. Lots of bars, lots of restaurants, lots of coffee shops and parks as well. So what we know then so far is around 20 people have been injured following a traffic incident. This is how it's been described by the Los Angeles Fire Department that took place on the Santa Monica Boulevard in East Hollywood. And we understand the exact location was outside a musical venue where people were queuing to gain access to the venue. And we understand that a number of bystanders and the public, both outside and within the venue itself, actually came out to help those that had been injured.
In a rural part of southern Kenya, what was meant to be a nearly 2-mile-long irrigation canal sits unfinished. Building materials are abandoned, and a sign proudly declares this project was funded by the U.S. Agency for International Development, or USAID. The canal was meant to deliver water to farmers and to prevent devastating flooding that had plagued this area. But left unfinished, what little has been done actually poses a risk. Juma Kobo is a local community leader.
It will collapse if nothing is done anytime sooner. It's going to collapse. And the flow of water, with the destruction of some of the previous infrastructure, it will lead to more destruction to farms and to homes.
Reuters has found that the Trump administration's decision to slash nearly all U.S. foreign aid has left dozens of water and sanitation projects half-finished across the globe. 21 unfinished projects in 16 countries have been identified after speaking to 17 sources familiar with the infrastructure plans. Most of these projects have not been previously reported. Interviews and internal documents show that with hundreds of millions of dollars in funding canceled since January, workers have put down their shovels and left holes half-dug and building supplies unguarded. The Trump administration and its supporters argue that the United States should spend its money to benefit Americans at home rather than sending it abroad. With an annual budget of $450 million, the U.S. water projects accounted for a small fraction of the $61 billion in foreign aid distributed by the United States last year, but it was money that had potentially life-saving consequences in places like Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. In an area where fighting between Congolese forces and M23 rebels has claimed thousands of lives, women and children hike for dangerous miles to wash clothes and collect water. A hydrant here was built with USAID funding, but plans for a larger reservoir have been scrapped. Evelyn Mbaswa said her 16-year-old son left home last week to collect water. He never returned.
The children leave the house as early as 4 a.m. and return home around 5 p.m. without a drop of water. When we send young girls, they're raped. When we send young boys, they are kidnapped. I lost a boy a week ago, and he's still missing without a trace. It's all because of the lack of water.
The U.S. State Department, which has taken over foreign aid from USAID, did not respond to a request for comment about the impact of halting the water projects.
In the villages surrounding Yemen's capital Sana'a, farmers say a lack of rainfall this year has forced them to abandon their crops and reduce their herds.
Last year, thank God, rain was abundant, but this year the rainfall has been light. The entire summer passed without any rain.
We move from mountain to mountain. There are no pastures anymore like there used to be. Around this time of the year, the land used to be green, but now there are no pastures because of the lack of rain. I used to have 70 sheep, but now I have 50. Lambs die from hunger.
Drought is not new to Yemen, but researchers say conditions have worsened in recent decades because of climate change.
I see that vast areas, almost more than 85% of the agricultural land, have not been cultivated this year during the first season. I don't know how the second season, which begins the second half of July and lasts until October, will turn out. If it doesn't rain during that season, it will be a major disaster for Yemen.
The UN says around 70% of Yemenis rely on farming for their livelihoods. For them, this drought is a crisis. It's also affecting food security, even though 80% of Yemen's food is imported.
When we see droughts, or what we call dry spells, are with unparalleled increase in temperatures in recent years, and floods and cyclones generally account about 15 to 20% of food security variability.
Yemen's people have endured relentless suffering for years. War, blockades and inflation have left them struggling to get enough to eat. Now the little food they produce is also at risk. Victoria Gatenby, Al Jazeera.
You were listening to the WINN FM 98.9 newscast. Our top stories were: SEDIMA Executive Director emphasizes individual and government partnership in hurricane preparedness. Desalination plant bolster St. Kitts and Nevis water resilience. ECCB Monetary Council Chairmanship handover highlights central bank's strength and future plans. St. Lucia takes steps to draft first national migration policy. Trinidad and Tobago Attorney General says a state of emergency dramatic but necessary. Violent attacks were planned. Internationally, Trump sues Wall Street Journal over Epstein report. Thank you for listening.